Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another comic book review. To continue on with the Black History Month, I want to, I have I have to, so crucial to do a comic book review for Black Panther in the month of Black History Month. It'll behoove me not to. However, the tough part is trying to figure out which one I want to do. I figured this particular one that kind of give you a brief rundown on like previous Black Panther along with running with current T'Challa storyline and how it all feeds together. So yeah, honestly, I mean, I just, you know, I love Black Panther, and I will do before the month is over. I will do a movie spoiler review for Black Panther. I watched that movie 3 times in the theater. No joke. Don't. Only there's only 2 movies I've seen more than once in the theater. Is Black Panther and Spider-Man: No Way Home, and that's how level of good it is, and how important I want this movie to be supported. And man, do people have people supported this movie. But we'll get to that when I get to it. But I chose this comic book run, Black Panther: Rise of the Black Panther, written by Evan Narcisse or Narcisse. I might be butchering that, so I apologize. And art by Paul Reynald. So, like I said before, this the first issue is pretty much giving like a good rundown on the first couple of at least the first 2 issues, I believe, cover the first couple of, at least T'Challa's grandfather and father. Now, it opens up with during the time of WW2 when T'Challa's grandfather, the Black Panther of the time, because the Black Panther is a mantle passed down from the T'Challa's lineage. The name escapes me of the let's say the BCE Black Panther, or the original Black Panther, the first of the tribe before the Wakanda became like a isolated hidden city. And the grandfather met up with Captain America and fought alongside him to fend off the Nazi or Hydra agents of the time for seizing vibranium in the region. And because of because Black Panther at the time took notice of the just the good spirited and honorable Steve Rogers, he in this the comic book storyline gave Steve the bit of vibranium in out of respect and goodwill towards Captain America, and it was then turned into the iconic shield, impenetrable shield that we know of today. And then Steve Rogers gave Black Panther his old shield in exchange, as in terms of respect to him and what he's as like brothers in arms. At this time, T'Challa's father was only a child, but he still remembers Steve Rogers back then. And matter of fact, that shield is still mounted on the wall in the palace as like a monument of Steve Rogers, pretty much, as like still like the few people that the few outsiders that have been in Wakanda that is that the Wakandas acknowledged with like respect. And prior to the Wakanda being opened up to the world, prior to that, I think it was like Steve Rogers and the Fantastic Four is the only few outsiders that are revered with respect and high regard to the Wakandan people. That that also show them respect and not try to pillage or anything like that of their resources. So when King T'Chaka, the father of T'Challa, grew up, he pretty much is being hounded about like, okay, by his brother and advisor about how like, oh, you can have any of the Dora Milaje bear you a great heir. And it's like he already has his eyes set on T'Challa's birth mother. I say birth mother because because she was like a renowned scientist, you can see where Shuri gets that. Well, T'Challa too, but Shuri more so get where no, not Shuri, because eventually T'Chaka remarried, and that was Shuri's birth mother. But T'Challa's birth mother, which by the way, the stepmother's reading from the journals of the birth mother of her recounts of what went on with T'Chaka and his father. Now, she was just a scientist at the time, and not any kind of Dora Milaje or anything regal necessarily. She was just regular Wakanda doing like pretty much like outreach and helping with even outside of Wakanda, she's trying to make sure like outreach and help wherever she can, using the scientists and know-how that she learned growing up in Wakanda to help. And these two fell in love, and she, despite her not being of like any kind of not even the Dora Milaje or just any of that inner circle of the palace, area. Not necessarily like lower class, but she's like science division. He's someone that because she recounts in her journals how like she's mocked behind her back because of where she come from. You can see like even in like the political infighting and turmoil within the palace is not quite Game of Thrones, but you can get that feel because that's why I want like more movies like this with like black culture, like because I'm pretty sure like in like tribes before the colonizers came over to Africa, I'm pretty sure there were moments like this where you can have like very Game of Thrones like stuff, but with African tribes and that political intrigue and all the other stuff and war and like all this stuff. It's awesome stuff. You can easily adapt this into a good movie. And it doesn't have to be a superhero thing. It's just very interesting. And I thought this was so cool and a good telling of T'Chaka's life when he was younger, as his reign as Black Panther, and and a recount of T'Challa's mother and her story, and like what she had to experience, and not necessarily it was hard for her because she didn't pay these whispers behind her back any mind, but it did bother her, and she thought it was disrespectful, but she didn't let it get to her. But eventually, I mean, she had at first had a hard time conceiving an heir, but eventually she did conceive T'Challa. But as it was, she passed when, a few days after giving birth to T'Challa, because it was complications. despite their technology, advanced as it is, there was nothing, you know, they managed to, which is probably the one thing I kind of figured that an advanced technology, advanced so much. I'm pretty sure current day Wakanda would be able to avoid any mothers dying during childbirth or children dying during childbirth kind of situation. But I think during this time when T'Challa was just a child, or just a baby, it was advanced, but still not quite there as far as preventing childbirth. Later on in issues, you'll see that there was significant advancement during the, which now that I think about it, was probably put more in, evolved more so because of how T'Challa's mother died. They put a lot more advancement in medical field because there's like you see like a woman doing like a water birth in like what's like a issue 3 or 4, and you see like a woman during water birth, and there's like a vibranium kind of like ring around the area to help ease the process of the like a nice combination of like a natural birth and a proper medical staff and whatnot to make sure everything is eased and is relatively painless. And it was so cool to just see something like that using vibranium. That's how so much is done. It's like, the kind of technology is like on the 2, 3, more often than not 4 decades ahead of anybody else around the world. But because T'Chaka loved this woman so much, he eventually had like, aside from spending time with his son where he's probably the most happiest, other than that, he was just like, I won't say cold, but it's just kind of like he indulged himself in like other women, and like he was kind of it's hard to say, like, a level below hardcore as far as his reign, when it comes to like his duties as Black Panther. He can come off very, stoic, more so than he was prior to T'Challa's, birth, where he's more kind-hearted and open and stuff like that. And all that was just kind of like, other than spending time with his son, he was pretty walled off. And you can see later on in other issues where he's, before he remarried to Shuri's mother, because, Shuri's mother found T'Challa when he was a boy, when he was just a little boy, and he was like, got lost in the woods, and she found him, brought him, back to the palace safely. And, her and T'Chaka, got close, and then eventually she married him and then conceived a daughter, Shuri. But prior to that, T'Chaka still, was a human being, end up, hooking up with like I might not be able to bring it up in time during like later issues, but you later find out he had a side piece, pretty much on. It's kind of like when I did a review of like the Keanu Reeves movie Speed, which, by the way, you can follow me on links in the description and check out that spoiler review. But during like a mission that was like, outside of Wakanda, he and this spy got close. She conceived like, T'Challa's half brother that, eventually after T'Chaka died during a siege on Wakanda led by Ulysses Claw, T'Chaka's brother had to, because T'Challa was still too young. It's very the Lion King in here, except the brother is not an asshole. The brother had to take over as Black Panther, ingesting the heart-shaped herb, and began his rule. And they still, and this is running around the same time. This was released. When was this released? It should be around at the same time as the movie. Um, 1 second. Yeah, March 2018 was when this was this short run, because it's a 6 issue run. This was going on, and so the uh, that eventually the spy conceived the half brother, and the half brother later on in life tried to come back to Wakanda, but the brother, T'Challa's uncle, didn't see that kid as royal blood. You will see that a lot in certain Black Panther comics, and even in the movie, how like certain outsiders, whether or not uh they're still part of the family in some shape or form, if they didn't grow up here, know the customs or direct bloodline, then prior to prior even to T'Chaka, nobody else think them as true Wakandans. You can see that despite like the not hints, but just like story beats are certain about like racism and like how people are viewed depending on their race or class. The Wakandans are not exempt from that feeling, even with their own. And there's like a issue 4 or 5 when you see like a cameo of Luke Cage, where T'Challa when he was like still like in his like mid to late teens, as he was like studying abroad outside of Wakanda, he ran into Luke Cage. And this is around when Luke Cage was still young, and he's running around with the bad crowd, but he wasn't evil or anything like that. And if you're black, you heard this kind of line before: all skinfolk and kinfolk. Now, to Wakandans, they think it is kind of dumb, and as even though in their world, family is important, and like they treat like elders in esteem high regard, unlike most people in other countries who don't view it that way necessarily. I mean, not like they cut them off completely or leave them out to die or anything like that, but the elders are held to like a very high standard, not like above like not Black Panther or the royal family, mind you, but still it's still like an esteem regard. But it's something that T'Challa had to take to heart in some fashion, because as he sees like later on when he runs to certain Wakandas, or at least who were part of the Wakandan people, even they, because in other Black Panther stories, there were people from the region who turned against, who either had a grievance with T'Challa or just the family as a whole, or the Wakanda city as a whole, all turned their back and sided with other factions like Hydra or Claw or Doctor Doom, and you'll see later on. It's like they all, or even the Atlanteans, as you'll see, even in the movies, when Atlanta, Namor and Atlantis will come up in the sequel to Black Panther, they're always like traitors to Wakanda, go to these other factions and want to either usurp or just, just take over, or just destroy the entire city, or just, get the amount of vibranium from the cells. It's just like skinfolk and kinfolk. There are certain black people, even like, there's always black people who have like family members or people in their neighborhood. They're always trying to like stab you in the back in some fashion. And I think we all understand that feeling. And I remember the line from Romeo Must Die, where like one of the characters mentions about like calling like, like he mentions like certain black people are like, crabs in like a barrel or something like that, where it's like one crab is trying to make it out of the barrel and there's always these other crabs trying to pull them down. And it's like, it's kind of like that sometimes. And it's effed up as is. And it's not even just geared towards black people in general. Everybody can understand about like certain people, even family, depending on who they are, because it's always like that black sheep or just like, a family member that went like bad, like they went like either crime or they're addicts and like they ain't trying to get no help, and they always like let's say like a family member is like like a strung out drug addict and they steal from you just to sell like a TV just to get money to buy more drugs, and it's hurting families, something like in that kind of aspect. Skinfolk ain't always kinfolk, and it's just sometimes, as horrible as it is, that it's like that sometimes. But as Claw breaks into, at least breaches the borders of Wakanda, he was like the first one in Wakanda's history to actually be able to get that far. And because of that, Cole lost the arm, but in the ensuing battle kills T'Chaka while he was defending his son. So issue number 2, of course, is the first encounter, because like this will be not in this issue, but it's plenty of retellings of T'Challa's first encounter with Namor the Submariner. And T'Challa is under investigation into figuring out this mystery about missing Wakandans in certain parts of the area, and the only connection that they had is that it's always around a body of water. Now, earlier in the issue, we'll see how T'Challa, another retelling of how T'Challa gained his reign as the Black Panther, because just like in the movie, there's Challenge Day, which happens once every year, where other tribes pick an emissary to challenge the Black Panther king for reign of Wakanda for a year until the next Challenge Day, where they get a chance for somebody else to try to usurp them. Now, you would think, of course, T'Challa actually beat his uncle and won the mantle of Black Panther. At that time, because this is prior to T'Challa ingesting the heart-shaped herb, this is on his own skill and intelligence. And you would think, people would have thought he was at least like 2-3 years away from being old enough to challenge his uncle for the right for the mantle. But he was still pretty young and still manages to pull it off. I say maybe fairly in his early 20s, still managed to pull it off and gain the mantle of Black Panther. So now, him and his council are going over like because like at least 8 people has been missing. And so now he's like, learning about like certain things that his uncle was doing and his father was doing, that, throughout the, run, 6-issue run, you and T'Challa are learning that, wow, there are even secrets that you're keeping from your king. And just like in the movie where like Forrest Whitaker's character, this, not sage. Yeah, it's kind of like a sage or like a shaman who he and his father had this secret, and only 2 were allowed to know this, and it's like even he kept it from, and awesome performance by Chadwick Boseman. It's like, I am your king. You will tell me what I need to know right this freaking now. And it's like, you get kind of like this, where it's like, his uncle's trying to tell him how things will run, how we have to do this and that stuff. Like, that's how you used to do it. I'm king now. When I need to know these things, y'all better fucking come to me on first sight or first notion of anything you hear. I better be the first to know, because I need to know these things, because I can't, run this kingdom and I'm the last to know these kind of things. And he's come to decide, given the fact that, the secrets, because like they don't want to spook the other Wakandans about the missing people, but because of this, T'Challa come to the realization, just like in the movie, that he needs to open up Wakanda to the world, because you see earlier where he's going over videotape of not only Captain America during WW2, but he's seen like images of the Fantastic Four fighting Galactus in their first encounter with him and stuff like that. He realized that we're sharing this planet together, and there's stuff happening outside of Wakanda that we will have to be a part of, and it'll be important for us to start a relationship now and trust with the outside world now, and share what we can, not everything, but share what we can, so that way if something transpires, we all got to be in this together, and it will be ignorant of us to just keep it to ourselves and thinking like we can, like, oh, we can't leave, if we can help in any manner, it'd be important for us to do so. Because we cannot leave them to their own devices to be left out in trouble in case something comes by and they could defend themselves with what we have, and we chose not to help. So this kind of puts not only his uncle but other certain Wakandans, not all, but like certain Wakandans at odds with T'Challa because of this decision, because they are so they're so used to that one tradition that we all had. I mean, they all had to upheld, is just keeping the outside world as away from Wakanda as much as possible, because they have not been conquered ever, and opening themselves up to the world will just allow them to just waltz all in and just possibly take anything, and and that's kind of put them in odds. But he tells these people on the monitor about like the missing people, and he says, I got this, I will look after them, I will find them, and I'll keep you guys safe, I promise. And so on his investigation during the last record of a missing person, he come across a crash site, and he runs into Namor the Submariner, who you see like typical of the team up, at least superhero team ups, they always got to fight first. And this kind of makes sense in this, where it usually doesn't in most other things, where Namor, as he mentions in this issue a couple of times, he's been known to act brashly, and you would typically find most meetups with Namor the Submariner with a fight with another superhero, because Namor is bullheaded. And just like with my TV show review of the Fantastic Four, which you can check out, I mentioned in one of the episodes, when they meet Namor the first time, of course he battles the Fantastic Four, at least 2-on-1, or then later 4-on-1 kind of thing. And it's typical in superhero stuff, but luckily this doesn't last long, and of course it's like seemingly even match but I kind of believe that T'Challa can easily take on Submariner, and Submariner was kind of surprised because thanks to his vibranium claws, he managed to cut make a slash across Namor's chest, which kind of surprised him because like nobody's ever managed to penetrate my skin before. But as they soon realize that neither one of them are the enemy, they both end up on the same investigation of searching for T'Challa's searching for his missing people, and Namor is searching for traitors among Atlanteans who escaped in this region. And they come across this leads them to the shack where they find traitors to Wakanda working with Atlanteans, using mixing technologies in order to infiltrate Wakanda, and using some vibranium to loan to Atlanteans to try to usurp Namor Submariner. Because some of these Atlanteans, because they lived pretty long time, they worked alongside, these traitors worked alongside, like they mentioned, about the Third Reich, and they end up learning bad lessons about superiority and inferior genes and blah blah blah. And it's like even cause, and they mention, and Namor mentions about how like they look, some Atlanteans look upon him in disgust. They call him half breed. They don't, they talk about his skin color because the pinkish hue of the white skin, because he's still half surface dweller and half Atlantean, kind of like Aquaman in a lot of ways. But he later on cautions T'Challa, like, king to king, you're gonna have to watch your own people, which kind of comes later on full circle in by the end of the run. The fact that, like Luke says about like skinfolk and kinfolk kind of situation, it's like you don't realize that there's always going to be certain groups of your own people that won't look at you favorably as a true king. They always going to be somebody who wants to take that throne. And of course, at this point, T'Challa is not taking it to heart. He thinks it's like, my people, respect me. And I was like, yeah, you keep telling yourself that. Sure. Yeah, sure. I was like, so heavy, the head that wears a crown kind of situation. So they, eventually T'Challa got back his people, but there was one missing, N'Jaka. And you'll later on know that is, as we all know, Eric Killmonger. Well, we'll see him later on. Then later, after the proclamation of opening up Wakanda to the world, you see that the surprise broadcast along the just different channels along the way, because Wakanda can just easily just kind of like Man of Steel, where like Zod took over every kind of television programming all across the world. They kind of Wakanda kind of did the same thing, just to announce Wakanda to the world, that we're a hidden city, we're open up to the world, we're pretty much inviting a seat, a seat at the UN, and like open up to the world, blase blase. And then he eventually sent out these kind of like Mission Impossible kind of messages, like this message will self-destruct kind of situation. These letters, the invitation to these emissaries of the different countries, US, Russia, China, blah blah blah, and they kind of disintegrate after a day, because you got like 48 hours to prepare your guys, bring like kind of the ambassadors and their kind of like their assistants, And only they're allowed to come and take a look at, Wakanda, but nobody else can come. No military personnel, no none of that stuff. Will we, make sure they're protected and keep a watchful eye on everything. And then once they have a look-see, and it'll bring them back, kind of thing. And you see, like, as broadcast is being projected, you see, like, Nick Fury, the old white Nick Fury, at the time, looking, at this broadcast. You see Namor's Mariner looking at this broadcast, and he's, saying to himself, like, T'Challa, you naive idiot. You see Luke Cage, older, in prison during this time. Was probably around this time when he's getting his superpowers, from, like, the experiments hidden in the prison, because he bumped into T'Challa, years ago. You see Dr. Doom watching on his broadcast, and you see even the Watcher, for some reason. I don't know why the Watcher's so curious, of course the Watcher's always watching, but he's watching this whole thing, I guess, because he knows about the hidden city for such a long time, because vibranium is an alien kind of ore that crash landed in Africa. So I guess he will be like kind of thing, but these other people kind of like has been in like the 6-issue run in some facet, but you never seen Uatu come into play at any point. I thought that was like a weird thing. And then you see, like, at one of the science lab somewhere in America, you see Eric Killmonger take notice. Oh, I can finally go home. And so you see, like, Iron Man make a cameo, but it's not like, unlike Captain America, well, something like Captain America, but you even see, like, more so with Captain America, you get to see what he's been doing for such a short time while in Wakanda lands back in WW2. You get a little more with him. This is the only time you see Iron Man in, this issue where he just shows up trying to follow the aircraft, but he doesn't, they blink out of the airspace and he just can't follow anymore. And it's like, that's the last you see of Iron Man. That's like, well, that's a waste of Iron Man. You could have just have him tag along to observe. Because you see, like, his father in the past talk with T'Challa's father and trying to get his assistance in helping with T'Challa's mother during the childbirth, but because of, like, a traitor among the Wakandan ranks, kind of disrupted that, supply line, and that resulted in, like, not getting the aid that he was looking after with Howard. So that resulted in the death of T'Challa's mother because of that. But the the ambassadors to these different countries come in and they see all these, like, advancements, like the childbirth that I was mentioning, all these things they can do with vibranium. Of course, the council of the Wakanda Council, most of them are just livid. And it's like, the fact that, like, T'Challa just did this without letting them know first. He just like, well, I'm letting you know now, but they're already here, so I'm king. I do as I freaking please. It's not like well, I won't say it's a dictatorship, but it's kind of like just a king thing. It's like, it's not like, unlike, like, the Queen of England, where it's kind of like a title, this day and age, a title only. She doesn't, like, rule with an iron fist or anything like that. But I guess it's more, I won't say reminiscent to, like, what's going on in Putin and Russia, but it's kind of like he does good for his people, but when he wants to throw his weight around, he will, kind of situation. So he shows off about, like, certain technologies, like, wrist gauntlets and ankle gauntlets that can hide, like, their scent and footprints, or at least tracks, or, like, their footsteps when they're catching up on prey. And and be able to like, in like the development stages of using vibranium to disintegrate like objects, kind of showing like a gun that just disintegrating, by the molecules. And it's still a designing phase. It's only working on a small scale, but not like a big scale yet. And you see like the old Captain America shield mounted on the wall. And he mentions to them like he want to establish trust with each other. Despite one of the American ambassadors as a black man who's mentioning to T'Challa is like, you got all this stuff, like why you need to bother with us? I mean, like it's like we don't have anything like of like like for equal trade at all. Like you're better than us in every facet, period. And T'Challa says like, I want to establish trust. I just need your trust. And it's like, I want to help out as much as I can. I do not want to, have my people close off to the world any longer than it has been throughout the centuries. So, but then you get an unsurprised visitor of the Winter Soldier, still brainwashed by, don't know if it was in the comics supposed to be Russia or Hydra or a combination of both. I cannot recall. I think it's a combination of both. And T'Challa with this kind of new Panther suit that kind of it's kind of like the way like Batman or Iron Man suits are when it comes to like have like a suit designed to counter certain particular foes. In this case, this suit kind of counters this teleportation kind of cloaking thing that Winter Soldier is utilizing. But one of the ambassadors was like a hidden spy for the Red Room from like Black Widow's thing, and I believe she was don't know if she was like secretly working for Hydra, but she was like a Russian mutant working for it's just like it's like a just the Red Room, nothing beyond that. So this is not disrupting the peace talks. He later T'Challa later goes on to the UN a week or so later, but Shuri confronts her uncle, given the fact that he had more secrets during his reign, as far as like that he does not let Shuri or T'Challa know that they need to be privy to, because they're handling Wakanda's affairs, and it's like he keeping secrets to himself. And about this secret, he found out about this secret project, Kaku, Kaku, Cuckoo. It's pretty much like a WMD designed by Wakanda. That's like you later find out is like hooked up to Wakanda's satellite in space, to where it can stealthily send this kind of warhead towards anybody who is like, because in other comics T'Challa have these like hidden spies within other areas around the globe, and every Black Panther always has something like that. So whenever they find out if there's like a planned attack on Wakanda by any nation, they can essentially send this warhead, drop it down, unbeknownst to like with to any of these countries, drop it down their capital. Let's say if Russia decides to do something about anything, or they find out before any troops are deployed, they can send that thing out, completely obliterate that capital if they so choose to, And Shuri and T'Challa is like, just like, furious is the fact that like we're not the aggressive. We do not want to conquer anybody. And his uncle is like, first of all, mind your tongue, who you're talking to. Second of all, like, in his mind, he doesn't feel like he's ever gonna do that. But it's just like while he was Black Panther, this is like like a caution. And this is so weird because it's like when he was younger, when he wasn't Black Panther, and when his brother was like ruling and everything was lighthearted before, he hooked up with T'Challa's mother, he seems a very more easygoing. But I guess like I said, when he's wearing that crowns, like you had to make certain hard decisions, and like, he doesn't want, and he was in that mindset of like, we don't want anybody, because especially after his brother died, I guess it's like that was the catalyst for his like internal change. The fact that Claw got so close, breaching the walls that resulted in his brother's death. In my mind, they're like, okay, he's in that mindset, like, okay, this isn't happening again. F that. So he had this design so that way if something like this ever, or even like an inkling of something like this ever happen again, we can send this out, boom, done. And send like pretty much sending a message to everybody else in the world, like Wakanda will never be conquered. And let this be like a warning to everybody else. Don't pull shit on us. That's when you find out about like the Red Room agent, who's like turns out to be a mutant that I guess can pass on, or at least teleport people. But you see, like later on, T'Challa goes to the UN, and then speaks with the people, kind of similar to the end of the movie, which I believe. I'm not sure. Like, I'm pretty sure this is running at the same time, or at least a little bit after the movie, because there's like a lot of same beats to it. Because you hear like a line "Wakanda Forever." This had to come right after the movie because they wouldn't have known about that iconic line prior to the movie. And then you see Eric Killmonger running up to T'Challa, saying he's the last missing Wakandan that they didn't find among the prisoners dealing with the Atlanteans. So it ends with them bringing Eric back with them, and they see a Doombot on the throne. So now you got to deal with Dr. Doom, which is obviously probably my favorite moment through the run. It's like just T'Challa versus Dr. Doom. It's just freaking all. It's like it's fun to see like just like like a good story arc where it's like T'Challa dealing with certain royal figures or figureheads of countries like this, because it's like political intrigue. It's like Dr. Doom, like a leader of Latveria, ruler, wielding science and magic at will, going up against T'Challa, which I think T'Challa can like if written well, can easily go toe to toe with Dr. Doom, but with like his ability with magic, it might prove a little bit difficult for T'Challa in some aspects. But like him going up against Submariner, which I'm looking forward to in the movie, because like T'Challa's being going up against another royal figure is like and powerful royal figure at that, is awesome in his own right. So T'Challa knew that like that was just a Doombot, so he like, okay, knowing doing like research about Dr. Doom, knowing full well like he has Doombots with like technology that can like easily learn and adapt and all the other stuff. He blows it up right away. He uses one of the Komodo beads and like just somehow just explodes the freaking thrones sitting on the pile of explosives. Maybe it's just a vibranium throne, and so he can just ignite the kinetic energy and just explode it. Possibly that's how it worked. Uh, and you see Killmonger meeting with the Hunter, the I'm trying to find the name of this because there's pretty much like Wakanda, like there's the Dora Milaje who's like, soldiers in the light, but there's kind of like a SWAT team for Wakanda, and they're called the Hatut Zarazi. It was pretty much like Wakanda's special forces, like SWAT in a way, or at least like one of those like particular armies. It's like goes like behind enemy lines and just takes out enemies of the state, pretty much. Like very undercover, hush hush stuff. Only like the Black Panther would know any ins and outs of anything, or at least typically would know ins and outs of what's going on with what they're doing or tasked to do. And it's led by Hunter, who is the only white male to grow up and live in Wakanda, because T'Chaka found this small boy who was the only survivor. Like in northern Wakanda, there was like a plane crash, kind of like similar to Danny Rand, the Iron Fist, where it's like a plane crash, and like he was the only survivor, a small boy, and T'Chaka found him and brought him back to Wakanda to live amongst them in the royal palace. And since he raised him as his own son, but he's not of royal blood, so he could not challenge or become the Black Panther in any kind of way. But he decided to serve Wakanda in other ways, and he had the honor of being the leader of the security force, the secret security force, of the Hatut Zaraze, and he's like a White Panther suit, and his subordinates are wearing like White Panther suits, and they're like badass as hell. You think the Dora Milaje are bad as hell? I cannot wait till they implement this in the movie, because these dudes are fucking no joke. Like I said, they're like very like hidden soldiers, or like a nice combination of like spies and hidden and soldiers, where they can just go behind enemy lines or just secretly stealthily take out anybody even outside of Wakanda. Just and he Hunter talks to Killmonger, and it's like pretty much just wheels like a knife in his face, and it's like hey, I will, like of course they don't know who Killmonger is really, but it's like while he was living in America this whole time, are you sure you wasn't like if I pretty much like if I found out you betrayed any secrets or anything like that, while you was outside, because you still was old enough, because during the Claw's attack on Wakanda, a trader amongst who was working with Baron Zemo, I forgot his name, Mdabwe, who kidnaps Eric essentially, because his parents died during that attack, and ran off with him, and so he had to be raised by this dude, and to a certain extent Claw and other stories, and had to live outside of Wakanda, away from his home, had to learn to steal and kill and other stuff, and was raised poorly by this guy who treated Eric like shit, and kind of fostered this hate towards Wakanda that runs deep with Killmonger. And of course, when he threatens, Killmonger's like, you better not have spread any secrets, because I will not hesitate to kill you right on the spot. and he drops a knife in front of him. And things like, uh, when you decide who you want to be, or what you want to do for Wakanda, come seek me out. Pretty much trying to offer him a position as one of the Hatu. Then T'Challa and Shuri go off to Latveria to speak with Dr. Doom, see what his plans are, because he somehow got a Doombot behind the walls of Wakanda. Mostly because after the whole Winter Soldier incident, and one of the scientists of Wakanda, one of the lead scientists, have been working on for a long time a way to protect Wakanda from teleporters. It's one of his fears that, because especially that he learns about certain people with abilities with teleporters, he wanted to invent a particular signature to block any potential teleporters from entering Wakanda. While he was booting this up, there was like a second, probably like a picosecond or like a 1/10 of a second of a down period before everything was booting up, and Dr. Doom took that second of a moment, to teleport his Doombot inside Wakanda. So they visit, thinking it is like Doom's, throwing his weight around, showing like how he's like can easily, like I said, throwing his weight around, pretty much throwing himself off, taking it as like some kind of invitation in Doom's own way. It's like, okay, we're on travel, and like pretty much doing like a undercover mission in disguise of like a two royals meeting. And so while Shuri is got the slip off of one of the Doombots, he is like searching Doom's data banks. Doom is talking with T'Challa, and they go over about like their family history. You learn about like Dr. Doom and his mother. He was still trapped in hell at this point in time. Of course, in recent comics, he got her out of hell because Mephisto kind of tricked her into a deal, and upon her death, she went to hell. And Doom, at this time, been working tirelessly trying to, learn all these magics and, all this technology in hopes to, that's why he, in canon, is how he got his face messed up, because one of these experiments, while he was in college and school, rooming with Reed Richards, his face got messed up. He then went to Latveria, learned about like magics and all these other scientists, and cause he's trying to build like a teleporter to the afterlife so he can go to hell and get his mother. He eventually did that with Doctor Strange, but that's a whole nother story. But you see like these two going over their history with their parents and everything like that, and Dr. Doom brings up about like, okay, don't you want to be able to see your parents again? And it's like, T'Challa's like, I don't want to you circumvent the natural order of things. They were like, the natural order. And like we're kings. We are not beholden to like the mulings of natural order kind of thing. Dr. Doom's such a egomaniac, which T'Challa easily picks up right away. But then he also brings up, because Dr. Doom brings up about his time fighting against the Fantastic Four, which is if you are a comic book fan at all, you will know that the first introduction to the Black Panther is when he took on the Fantastic Four. That's how you became his first introduction in like the comics history. But Dr. Doom brings up why test your might and wit against them. Why not the Avengers? And T'Challa's like, as powerful as they are, in their own right, they're undisciplined. These people have not only the power, but they have the discipline and unit. So it would prove me more of a challenge to test my skill against them. They were more of a worthy opponent in my eyes. So then Doom, every time you read like a story about Doom and he's inviting people to Latveria, on the rare occasions he does that, he always shows off like how benevolent leader he is, like showing T'Challa, giving him this particular wine that this is like a rare wine from this particular berry that went extinct, that he kind of used magic and science to bring up, and is only here, you only can find it here in Latveria. And it's like, it's kind of, it doesn't taste well to T'Challa, but Doom is trying to show off pretty much like how powerful he is, just bringing an extinct berry back to the present, from extinction, and turning it into this rarest of wines. In the meantime, back at home, T'Challa's mother and the elder man Changza, who also was like the advisor to T'Chaka, they talk with Eric about his time. Well, not wasn't. I'm misremembering certain panels, but Chenga. Well, no, I'm not misremembering. You see, like T'Challa's mother and his uncle go over Killmonger's time about like over in America, and like and Eric's going on how rough it was, and like how he missed home so badly, and it's so good to just be back here and everything like that. While on a certain level it's true, but he's also, as he has a hidden agenda, and he talks with Chenga and the other elders who had an issue with T'Challa opening up the world to open up the Wakanda to the world. And Eric, kind of like got inside their heads about how like, how that was like a huge mistake, and like, we have like the stuff that we need to take over any place that we want to, especially the colonizers' lands, because why not? What's stopping them from trying to, thanks to T'Challa opening up Wakanda to the world now, what's stopping them from taking over? Just like they did other places of Africa and other lands that weren't their own. So we should be able to, with our skill, technology, we can, skill, technology, weapons, and vehicles, we can easily just get ahead of it and just conquer these lands and establish a foothold in this world. And they're kind of like eating it up because, like, they took, he's taking advantage of their belief system and what they're so used to, because like certain people are just fixated to their particular ways and not usually open to being adapting to like a new world or a new way of thinking, and he's pretty much exploiting all that to its further extreme. But one of the elders mentions, like, I can see like a hauntingness in his eyes. We better watch him. But eventually, Shuri gets busted from like going through Doom's databanks, and even though Doom didn't have any kind of Wakanda information on his records, Doom brings to T'Challa's attention, saying that there's pretty much like a traitor among in your midst, and you don't realize you like uh, a brother of yours, you know, uh, uh, pretty much like there's a brother out there that's is causing you issues, and of course, this leads to T'Challa thinking this has something to do with because the only brother he's aware of will be Hunter, technically. So this leads into issue number 5. And right off the bat, man, this is like kind of one thing I think was kind of out of character for T'Challa so far in this run, where right out the gate he's coming into the headquarters of the Hatu Zaraze and starts wailing on beating the crap out of Hunter's subordinates and just going at it with Hunter. And it's like, because Hunter is still beholden to certain tasks that was given to him by the previous Black Panther, which he didn't bother to disclose to T'Challa at all. Right before, while they was going at it with each other, T'Challa's mother steps in, stopping this like fighting, and then brings up about the half brother, who, like I mentioned before, that T'Chaka, before he remarried, still was on, still had missions, and then he got close to one spy, and then they just had like a moment during like high distress, just like I was putting out with the Speed movie, was like high tense situations, adrenaline's high, he was lonely, she was there, she was for comfort, and that kind of thing, and then things happen, which kind of like puts T'Challa ill at ease. Which I gotta point out right in this moment, could have taken a moment to apologize to Hunter. He brings up in another issue about how like he should pretty much like apologize for his reaction towards Hunter, but like I said, there's still like maybe like a shred, like an inkling of prejudice on T'Challa's part by just assuming, a brother, and is a white man. This white man who is the only brother he knew of, it's like, he's white, he's going to betray us. He's the one who's betrayed us to Dr. Doom. So, he immediately went after him, and it's like, wow, it's like what a drop of a hat, and it's like. Just like I said, it's like, racism doesn't just stop at white people. Like, we all have prejudices to some extent. And you can see that play out even with T'Challa, that, he's not above that. He's still human. And it's like, given the fact that, he knows about like certain white people and how like quickly they easily like, take advantage and like exploit other cultures, he quickly like assumes Hunter is like the betrayer because he's the only brother he knew, until his mother had to bring to light about his half brother, a black man who betrayed them. While he's on the search for his half brother, Eric Killmonger is like already like taking down one of his the lead scientists and searching for the other people involved during the past, during like Claw's attempting to conquer or steal the vibranium that ended up resulting in Eric's parents' death. And like I mentioned, this also is an issue where you see T'Challa bring about like skinful and kinfolk. He learns that from Luke Cage. And while he finds out that there's a hyena clan, in the comics there's different clans of tribes of Wakanda, and there's like Excommunicado clan, the hyena clan led by the half brother, and he bumps into Aurora Monroe Storm, who at this time this is in Kenya, mind you, and this is where her birthplace. She is fending off this hyena clan that's causing trouble, and T'Challa, of course, like teams up with her to put them a stop to it. And of course, this is I'm pretty sure this is around this time when they were like having like a thing. This is way before. Well, this is like a retelling, like I said, because like there's previous comics where we all knew for such a long time that Storm and T'Challa was husband and wife. For a good moment in time. It wasn't short, but it still wasn't long enough. Of course, they long since like divorced. Don't really recall what was the reason why they had to break it off, but even recent Black Panther comics, they still have like a thing for each other. They always will have that, and we always enjoy it when they have like a little moment with each other. Probably one of the best comic book couples, along with like Mary Jane and Spider-Man and Superman and Lois Lane's right up there as far as like, and Sue and Reed, as far as like iconic comic book couples, they're up there. Soon, they they soon find the half brother who takes one of the daggers, T'Challa threw at one of his henchmen, and strike at this, strike himself with it. It turns into some kind of bulging vibranium, just nothing but muscle, a gross purple muscle infused with like vibranium, and T'Challa utilized the dagger to, with thanks to Aurora's electricity, pretty much overloads the vibranium infused monster, paralyzing him, and she tosses him essentially into the volcano that's nearby. And I don't know if it's like it's a volcano in. I don't think there's a volcano in Kenya. This is weird, but anyway, I could be wrong. But they don't know if he's dead or is just paralyzed. But if he's gotten out of it, he might be dead. They don't know. But that's the last we hear of him. So they depart, and Eric then starts plotting his usurping T'Challa. We're coming up with the final issue now. And after the ordeal with trying to deal with the half brother and his plans of, because there's a lot of people trying to usurp T'Challa's rule and either conquer Wakanda or take the throne. And it's like T'Challa's head swirling. It's like, he's trying to do something different, and as his uncle mentions, like, you don't know what it's like, being the ruler. There's always going to be something that you have to make hard choices about that you're not going to necessarily like, and there's certain secrets that you were shielded from you when you was a child that once come to light, you're not going to like. And it's like T'Challa's hair is swirling now, and he's knowing about that warhead that his uncle had created during his rule. And while this is going on, Shuri alerted him about Killmonger is killing Wakandans during like at the lab where it's controlling that satellite. He has T'Challa's mother tied up to a tree while Killmonger is killing Changza. And of course, typical Killmonger. It's like, he's berating T'Challa about, like, how soft he is, and he's like, like he's not ruling like he should be. He's not uh, allowing Wakanda to spread and take over. More so, he's just it didn't help with like Mdaway and Claw festering that hatred, but he's also just felt like just like abandoned, and it's like that hatred just growing over the years, and it's like he's been cut off from the world and pretty much stranded into just like a like what he would think will be like the wilderness is where he was abandoned instead of living the life that he should have been living among his people, and pretty much cut off, and nobody came to look for him. And he beats T'Challa's ass, utilizing this tech to like pretty much overload his senses and disrupt his vibranium suit. And thanks to his mother's like encouragement, he's pretty much got like that added willpower you seen like in anime. That's kind of like that extra oomph to like give him that willpower and strength to like get up and fight on. You're trying to force him to remember when he got that heart-shaped herb. The first thing he uses his super senses to do is smell the aroma coming off his mother's wedding gown, the oil, feel the oils on her binoculars that she used, and like recall like a video, the last video image recorded of her and his father together, and like use that as like give him like the willpower to press on to stop Killmonger from deploying the warhead on Shield, forcing a war between Wakanda and the rest of the world, knowing for well that he think like, oh, Wakanda can easily take on these people and their inferior tech. There are no match. So he's want to make sure that they're, forcing this war will cause everybody else to essentially lose in the long run because their technology isn't as good as theirs. But this is going to be like, have you seen like in the what if stuff, will force like a massive bloodshed on all sides. But I would agree that Wakanda will come out on top, but at what cost? Which it doesn't matter to N'Jaka. He just wants that power and Wakanda to be at the top. But given the fact that we have like tons of superheroes that can easily take on Killmonger and Wakanda's, even despite how Wakanda's technology and stuff, there will be a possibility they will lose because all this. Because what is like Vibranium going to do against like someone like the Hulk or Doctor Doom and his magic, or Doctor Strange and his magic? But in the end, which I kind of wish in this last issue, that because you see like Hunter help out and Shuri help out with taking on these little Panther tank things that it's kind of like Voltron cat-like machine. It kind of like very Voltron-esque kind of Panther robots that Eric Killmonger deployed to distract all the Wakanda security while he's doing his thing, leaving T'Challa and Shuri to handle things, or at least T'Challa handle things on his own with Killmonger without backup. But I kind of wish that we got, because we've seen like Submariner, Luke Cage, and Storm. I kind of wish, and even with S.H.I.E.L.D., certain members of S.H.I.E.L.D., because you see like Stillwell and Wu, Agent Wu, and it's like, Stillwell, I'm pretty sure in recent Marvel comics, he's retcon to be like a secret Hydra agent, but it's like Agent Wu. We got Agent Wu in here. I kind of wish we got like Agent Wu and some Shield agents and Storm and uh, Captain America and uh, make a like a and Luke Cage cameos in the end to like help out with Wakanda while dealing with Killmonger. I kind of wish we had that because we showed them and Iron Man, we showed them and we don't do nothing with them outside these short little cameos. I mean, I won't say we do nothing with all of them, but it's like you showed them, might as well like have it come in as like a added backup. But in the end, with the help of Shuri, they tie up Killmonger. You kick him out of the aircraft that was carrying the bomb. He obviously goes missing. They didn't find him, but they disassemble the bomb and preventing an all-out war. But this doesn't dissuade T'Challa's goal with reuniting with Wakanda with the rest of the world, like his overall goal was to establish trust and alliances with certain members of the government of the UN, specifically like well, I won't say specifically with the U.S., but like a good people, a good amount of people within like the with the world, with reason, because like if some particular governments like Liberia, you would not give them any kind of help or, well, within reason. I mean, like if T'Challa would probably offer help if something devastating like alien forces this devastating Liberia or something like that, maybe. But it's just like it's not like with Captain America where you just willingly give a piece of what vibranium to him out of trust in because he earned that trust. But he works with the government trying to build up trust between Wakanda and the UN. You see him later on establishing like his hero status with like the Avengers later on, working with Captain America. And the issue ends with the beginning, which kind of revitalizes the moment of Black Panther's introduction into the Avengers. And I love like the art in this. And honestly, the art is not too bad. It's not like like it's not too much going on. It's just enough to where it's like it's just like the art is phenomenal. It's like it's not overly complicated. It's not too simple either. It's just like if I come across bad art, I'll point out why I think it's bad art. But this is not bad art, and I love looking at this. It's like the artist knew exactly what he was doing and what was needed of him. But yeah, Rise of the Black Panther. It's not nice short 6-issue miniseries. Pretty much, if you want to get to know, there's other Black Panther comics if you want to know the origin story of Black Panther. But this is a nice little condensed. In the first couple of issues, a nice little condensed, backstory to like the past two Black Panthers, but more so following along with T'Challa and how the past two Black Panthers reign and what they had to do is kind of trickles down to affecting T'Challa during his rule, because all the secrets and that kind of like festers and lingers and causing this issue like with Killmonger and like the bomb, and like the backstabbing with Mdawe, working with Claw and stuff like that. It's just like all things that the previous two Black Panthers, it's kind of like the sins of the father situation. But yeah, pretty solid, and I really enjoyed it. I love Black Panther. It's like I want to read more. I've been keeping up with since the movie, or even prior to the movie. I've been keeping my eye on like Black Panther comics a lot more, because not so much back in the day growing up, because I'm pretty sure we all were aware, at least comic book readers were aware of Black Panther, but it wasn't like, I'm pretty sure it was treated well, but not as well as it is currently, because like he wasn't in the zeitgeist like that. It's not even. It's like the same way with like Iron Man back in the day. It wasn't in like the zeitgeist of everybody like it is now. Same thing with Captain America. It wasn't in the zeitgeist. We knew of them, but it wasn't like, permeating. I can't talk today. Permeating the zeitgeist like it is now. But in the same way with Moon Knight, I've been keeping up with Moon Knight for the past couple of years, because we already knew Moon Knight was going to be a thing, which by next month the TV show will be coming out. So I've been like keeping my eye on Moon Knight for quite a while. So like I have better understanding of Moon Knight's history. So yeah, definitely give this a read. Just 6 issues. It's a great read and hell of a lot of fun. So happy Black History Month. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Peace.